Alright, I am back with a list that is all about pure eye candy. I have played Switch games since I was a kid, and I love when a game makes me stop and say, wait, the Switch can do that? These picks are not just good looking. They are the games that make you slow down, spin the camera, and take screenshots like a maniac. Some are Switch 1 classics, some are built for Switch 2. But all of them are the kind of visual experiences you remember years later. Let's jump in. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is the kind of game that makes me pause mid-fight just to stare at the lighting. Samus's visor reflections, the wet rocks, and those alien plants that glow at night, it all looks ridiculously sharp on Switch 2. What I love most is how the art direction stays clean and readable even when the screen fills with particle effects. The new environments feel more alive than any previous Prime, with fog rolling in, heat shimmer, and little details like dust drifting through ruins. If you play in handheld, the contrast still pops, and that is rare. For me, this is the showcase game when someone says the Switch 2 cannot do atmosphere. And the best part is the smooth aiming, because exploring tight corridors feels as good as it looks, without ugly blur at all. Kirby Air Riders surprised me because it is not trying to be realistic, yet it is one of the prettiest racers on the platform. The colors are bold, the clouds look like cotton candy, and every track has its own vibe, from neon city loops to cozy seaside sunsets. On Switch 2, the game feels buttery smooth, which matters when you're drifting through a pack, and the screen is full of stars, sparkles, and chaotic power-ups. I also love the character animations. Kirby and friends bounce and react like toys, and it sells the charm. Even the menus are clean and glossy, like a modern cartoon. If you want a feel-good visual showcase, this is it. Grab a buddy online, race a few rounds, and you will catch yourself taking screenshots, because it is pure happiness today. Mario Kart World is what happens when Nintendo finally lets the series breathe. The big visual flex here is the open world vibe. You are racing through connected regions instead of isolated tracks, so the scenery changes naturally as you drive. Water reflects the sky, city lights smear across wet asphalt, and the new character models look way more detailed without losing that toy-like look. The biggest surprise is how clean it stays with 24 racers on screen, shells flying and the camera whipping around. On Switch 2, the sense of speed is insane, especially in handheld where the colors pop. I keep jumping into free roam just to cruise and watch sunsets over the map. It is a postcard generator. If you grew up with Mario Kart, this one feels like future, and it looks the part. Resident Evil Requiem is straight up a lighting demo disguised as survival horror. Dark hallways are not just dark, you can see subtle bounce light, flickering neon, and that nasty glossy shine on wet floors. When the flashlight hits dust in the air, it feels like you're inside a movie set. What I appreciate is the texture work, cracked tiles, peeling posters, and grime that actually looks layered, not flat. The character faces are also way more expressive, so every nervous glance sells the tension. On Switch 2, it still keeps that sharp look while moving, which is usually where ports fall apart. If you want horror that looks modern and cinematic, this is the one that will make you play with the lights on. I do not care who you are, the atmosphere alone is worth the download. Cyberpunk 2077, Ultimate Edition on Switch. 2 still feels like a magic trick to me. Night City is packed with neon signs, crowds, and reflections, and the handheld screen makes it look like you are holding a tiny cyberpunk diorama. The main thing that sells the visuals is density. Every alley has cables, trash, steam, and little bits of signage that make the world feel real. Driving at night is my favorite because the headlights cut through rain and the colors smear across the street in the best way. This version also lets you jump into Phantom Liberty, which has some of the coolest districts and moodiest lighting in the whole game. If you skipped it before, this is a gorgeous way to finally see what the hype was about. Just walking around and listening to the city is relaxing. Star Wars Outlaws is one of those games where you stop doing missions just to look at the skybox. Spaceports glow, deserts stretch forever, and every planet has that classic Star Wars mix of grime and beauty. The character detail is impressive too, especially the way fabrics and jackets move when you run. It feels like a film costume department went crazy. What really sells it for me is scale. You can be in a crowded cantina 1 minute and speeding across open land the next with ships roaring overhead. On Switch 2, the lighting on metal surfaces and blaster effects looks sharp, not muddy. If you are a Star Wars fan who loves good visuals, this is basically a playable screenshot factory, and it does not need photo mode to prove it. I keep replaying scenes to watch them. The Duskbloods is my pick for dark fantasy visuals that actually feel new on a Nintendo system. From Software knows how to build creepy beauty, and here it looks like moonlight is a weapon. You get these heavy shadows, cold blues, and sudden bursts of crimson that make every duel feel dramatic. The environments look lived in, like abandoned chapels and twisted streets that have a story even when nobody is talking. What I am excited for is the contrast. Silky fog, sharp silhouettes, and glowing effects that read clean even in motion. On Switch 2, this could be the game that convinces people the console can do serious atmosphere, not just bright cartoons. If you love the vibe of Bloodborne and Elden Ring, keep this one on your radar. I will get lost in it, win or lose, headphones on.
The moon tears will flow for one.
Donkey Kong Bananza looks like Nintendo took everything they learned about shiny, dense worlds and poured it into a jungle playground. The big visual hook is destruction. You're smashing through terrain, cracking walls, and revealing hidden layers that make the world feel physical. I love how the lighting changes as you dig deeper, going from bright tropical sun to moody underground glow. DK's fur and animations are super expressive, and Pauline adds a nice color contrast in co-op moments. The camera stays close, so you notice tiny details like dust puffs, leaf movement, and little bits of debris bouncing around. It is not trying to be realistic, but it is insanely polished, like a Pixar movie you can control. If you want something cheerful that still flexes the hardware, this is a perfect pick for your weekend binge. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is still one of the best looking RPGs ever, and seeing Midgar on Switch 2 feels like a full circle moment. The city is all steel, smoke, and neon, with tiny lights everywhere that make it feel alive. I love how the game uses contrast. Bright reactor glow against grimy slums, clean corporate halls against cluttered streets. Combat is flashy, and the particle effects are crisp without turning into a blurry mess. Intergrade also gives you the Yuffie episode, which is basically more excuses to admire the lighting and animation work. The character faces hold up even in close-ups, and the cutscenes look premium. If you want a cinematic RPG that still plays great in handheld, this is a must. I catch myself rewatching key scenes like it is a favorite movie at night. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom on Switch 2 is the kind of upgrade you feel the second you start gliding. Everything looks cleaner and the world has more depth, especially in the Sky Islands where distance and clouds really matter. My favorite visual trick is the way sunlight hits floating rocks, then fades into those deep cave shadows when you dive underground. Ultra Hand creations look sharper too, so your weird flying machines actually show off their parts instead of blending together. The water, the grass, the particle effects when you fuse materials, it all feels more stable and smooth. And because the game is so open, you get constant wow moments, like storm clouds rolling in while you build a bridge midair. If you played it on Switch 1, this is an excuse to return and wander. So yeah, if you want games that make the Switch family look like it is punching way above its weight, these are my go-to picks for 2026. Now I want to know yours. What is the one Switch or Switch 2 game that made you stop and just stare at the screen for a second? Drop your picks in the comments because I am always looking for the next visual knockout.